Does high-intensity interval training cause too much stress to the body? In this episode, you're going to learn about high-intensity interval training, when you should do it, when you should not do it, how much is too much, and more. Before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, then make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. I'm excited to talk about a question that I actually just got today from a person that I just met for the first time. They learned who I was and asked me about high-intensity interval training. They were like, I'm hearing a lot from girls that high-intensity interval training causes a big cortisol spike, and it's really stressful to our bodies, and it can be damaging, and doing a lot of lower-intensity walks and lower-intensity cardio is a whole lot more beneficial. What is this true or is this not true? And so I wanted to confront that with you guys on the podcast, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have maybe heard that or you have thought about that in the past. And so I wanted to just talk about the context of the question and break it down for you. So the way that I laid it out for this person is the way I'll lay it out for you. The first question, I was like, anytime when it comes to training, there's not necessarily the best way to do things or the worst way to do things. It's, what are you looking to optimize for? What are your goals when you're training? So for example, somebody who is training to be a track athlete is going to look completely different from somebody who's looking to do a marathon, or look completely different from somebody who's looking to be in a bodybuilding competition, or completely different from somebody who's doing a strongman competition, completely different from somebody who's training to optimize their golf swing, right? Like, what are you looking to optimize for? And if somebody's sport looks like high intensity interval training, then you need to do some high intensity interval training in your workouts in order to optimize your performance for your sport. You know, something like basketball, something like football, something like these sports where you have short bursts of high intensity followed by some recovery, and then some bouts of pretty high intensity with some mild recovery. Like, you need to mimic your workouts to look pretty darn similar to your sports some of the time, especially in your off season when you're getting closer and closer to your sport. That's when you want to make sure you mimic the sport to your actual workouts. So when it comes to answering that question, just simply based off of that, high intensity interval training is required if you're doing some of these sports that look like high intensity interval training. So keep that in mind. And then one of the other things that I really broke down for her is training intensity should help inform recovery protocols. So for example, if somebody is doing a high intensity interval training workout 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and they're not very diligent with their recoveries, then they're going to leave themselves susceptible to overstressing their body and leaving themselves susceptible to maybe some injuries as well. People who are athletes and people who are doing a lot of high intensity interval training for their sport, they're also putting massive amounts of time, money, energy, and effort into their recovery, allowing them to then perform at a higher level in their next workout. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the representation with my hands. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'll try to, and you're just listening, I'll try to verbalize it as best I can. But let's say your performance level is here, and I'm having my hand up, and let's say that performance level is an 8 out of 10 intensity. When you're working out, you're basically breaking your body down, to keep it as simplistic as possible. You're breaking your body down. So you work out 8 out of 10, then you are breaking yourself down. When you're breaking down, then you need to recover. After your recovery, you want to be able to perform at the same or a slightly higher level of intensity than previously, because you want the workout to break down and make you stronger than before. But if you're constantly working out 8 out of 10, not giving yourself enough recovery, then you're never going to be able to get better, because you're not giving your body the chance to rebuild and come back stronger than it was before. So high intensity interval training gone wrong is when you're doing it excessively without ensuring that you're optimizing for your recovery protocols. You're not sleeping enough. You're not having enough downtime. You're not getting enough elevation of your legs. You're not fueling yourself properly, right? You're not doing some of these treatments that are high performance type recovery treatments. So that is when high intensity interval training is primarily gone wrong, is when it's not followed by enough recovery on the other side of it. But look, high intensity interval training is great. It can be great for improving your performance in your sport. It can be great improving performance just generally speaking. It can be great for improving your VO2 max, which is one of the best predictors of life expectancy in your lifespan. So high intensity interval training is not bad. It just needs to be combated with proper recovery type protocols. The other thing about high intensity interval training from like a non-scientific point of view is I find it a really great stress relief, and I find it as a really great mental outlet to just get after it and escape from whatever else is that you're stressed with or frustrated by. And it's a good stress outlet to be able to just like, man, if I'm really stressed, I just want to get after it and push myself to the max. And again, kind of from a non-scientific standpoint, is oftentimes you get really proud of yourself after a higher intensity interval type workout. You can be really proud of yourself for pushing yourself to the max and pushing yourself to a level of discomfort. So there's some pride that goes along with that. But again, you just want to make sure that you're not falling into the rabbit hole of excessive high intensity followed by lack of recovery. So when it comes to doing high intensity interval training, how often should you do it? The thing that I hear most, and might be one of the simplest protocols to follow with regards to how to implement it, is making sure that 80% of your cardiovascular training is more of what's that zone 2 type training, lower intensity at a conversational type pace, where your average heart rate during that training session might be about 180 minus your age. I think that that's a really good, healthy protocol for a lot of different reasons, because one, it's not excessively uncomfortable, so we stay consistent with it over a longer period of time, and we don't leave ourselves susceptible to injury. And then maybe 20% of your overall weekly cardio training is more of this conditioning work, more of this high intensity interval training work. And the way that you can, again, maybe think about that, especially if you have a wearable device, is doing 220 minus your age. That's your max heart rate. So let's say you're 20 years old. 220 minus 20 is 200. And then training at about 85 to 95% of that max heart rate for 10 to 30 minutes per week. So again, if you're 20 years old, that would mean that you're training at about 170 to 180 beats per minute, but for just 10 to 30 minutes per week. Again, that's not a too terribly high amount of time, and it allows your body the ability to recover on the other side of it, but still being able to get the performance benefits, the VO2 max benefits, etc. And so if I was to kind of conclude this episode, I want to conclude it with what I see as a really ideal fitness routine. Now, this doesn't mean that everybody's going to be able to follow this, because you're going to be have time constraints and all that sort of thing. But a really good ideal routine that you can use for yourself would be 3 to 5 days of resistance training, 45 to 120 minutes of zone 2 work. And this is on a weekly basis. So 3 to 5 resistance training workouts per week, 45 to 120 minutes of zone 2. That could be broken up into 1 to 3 sessions. And then anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes of high intensity interval training. That can be broken up into 1 or 2 sessions. So that's how I would break down an ideal fitness routine that hopefully answers the questions with regards to high intensity interval training, the risks of doing too much and what too much looks like, and the benefits of it at the same time. Again, usually when it comes to health and fitness, nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. It depends what the context is of the person's goals, the person's ability levels, and what works best for them and their schedule. So I hope that last part was the part that really sinks home more than anything else. If you guys want workouts from me, if you want recipes from me, then you need to take part in the 1-week free trial of the 10-week transformation. You can go to nickcarrier.com/free trial. You can click down below to get going today to access workouts, recipes, and habit forming tips that I coach my 700 plus clients that have coached thus far in the 10-week transformation. Go below to nickcarrier.com/free trial. If you're on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button, y'all. We continue to drop fire to help you achieve your health and fitness goals. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe below, watch the next video. I look forward to continuing to help you guys achieve your health and fitness goals and ultimately help you get closer and closer to your best you.